So today's video is going to be all about how to start your spring season seeds and how to do it on a small urban scale. Not everybody lives in a place where they have a backyard or a garden area space to grow certain things within their home. Some people live in apartments like I do, where I grow on the back of my balcony or even indoors. So we are going to talk all about how to do that today. This is what I will be planting today. Got some onions and some garlic bulbs. And those are beets right there, beet seeds. So first thing is first, your materials. What kind of materials do you need to start your seed sowing process? So first and foremost, you need your seeds, okay? You need seeds. I have here some garlic, like I already showed, onion bulbs, all that, and a variety of seeds here. You also need your planting pots or whatever you're going to put these seedlings in, or where you want them to grow at. You're going to need tools. I usually use my hands a lot because I'm used to planting and things like that. So I particularly don't even use stuff like this unless the ground is really hard. You got to break it up. And then a ruler. I have a ruler for measuring. Certain seeds need to be planted at certain depths, so you want to make sure that you are planting them at the right depth so that they're able to germinate out of the ground. Here I have marked certain measurements, like an inch or a half or even a quarter of an inch, so that I can just use this to measure how deep the seeds need to be planted. And then you need markers and plant tags to mark everything you have, because once your seedlings germinate, a lot of seedlings can tend to look the same, like kale and collards and lettuce, when they have first sprouted. So you want to make sure that you know exactly what you have, and also your variety, because there are several different varieties in one category of the plant. Like kale has different varieties, Premier, Scarlet, dwarf kale, all kinds of different types of kale. So you just want to make sure that you are distinguishing what is what when it comes to your plant tag. Before planting some seeds, like the beet seeds here and the pea seeds over here, you have to soak them, because the water will soften their outer shell and allow for a better germination rate. So for my soil mix, I always mix compost with garden soil. Here, I got a bucket here that we're going to mix it in. So we're going to pour some of this in there. And then fill the rest up with garden soil. And I need to get a... In fact, I'm going to use one of these pots because it's going to take too long to keep on digging out. Get this pot, some garden soil. Okay, now it's light enough for me to pick up and dump. Okay, so now you're gonna mix all of that together. It's mixing all the compost with the garden soil together, so that you will have a equal mix. Mix that up good, really good. Sometimes when I'm doing my garden, I always think of it like you're cooking. You're, you know, preparing for a good meal. That's how it is when you're getting ready in the garden. You're getting your soil mixture together to put your seedlings in so they can set and grow really nice and well and get ready for you to harvest later and eat. Once you have your mix, you want to put, I usually add water to my mix because when it comes to planting your seedlings, once you water them afterwards, the seedlings will float to the top because they aren't stationed into the soil, because the soil is still really loose. So I'm gonna mix that around. And actually it could use a lot more water than what I provided. So I'm just gonna pour the rest. Just mix it all around. You want it to be nice and just moist. You don't want it to be soggy and wet. You just want it to be nice and moist. I'm just gonna mix that around. Okay, so now the soil is nice and mixed, and now it's time to get. Okay, once you have your potting mix all mixed up together and all your planting tags written, which I actually made these tags. This conserves on money because you have to buy plant tags all the time and it's just a waste when you can just make your own. So I made my own. So as you see here, this is an example of what your plant tag will look like. It has the type of plant, the variety of plant, and the date that you planted it. So you want to make sure all that information is on your tag. First, we are going to talk about garlic bulbs and onion bulbs. When you get your garlic bulb, it will look like this, and you actually have to break these apart to get the individual cloves, because the individual cloves is what you're going to plant in your pot. When you're growing onions and garlic, you want to make sure you have a pot that's about this deep and this wide. So we're going to break apart the bulb. Which that can get pretty messy because garlic and onions have outer coverings to protect it. There we go. So we have our individual bulbs now. When you're planting these bulbs, you want to plant these bulbs 4 inches deep into the soil. Like I said before, you want to have your ruler so that you know how deep you're planting, and a planting stick so that you can mark the measurement and then just use this to measure how deep you want to have your plant inside the soil. So it says 4 inches. So we're gonna make a mark right here, because this is 4 inches. And I'm gonna write 4 inches so I know that that's what that mark is for. And then we're gonna go about that deep, make some space inside your pot. As you see. So you want to just move it around so that you can, so that you're able to place your bulb inside. Okay. So you're going to take this bulb and you're going to push it down into the depth of your pot, into the depth of the proper depth. And then you're going to cover it. So now that one is done. Next, I'm going to show the onion bulbs. So these are what your onion bulbs are going to look like. It's easier to start things like garlic and onions from bulbs instead of seed because the bulbs, basically you have a head start on your planting process. When you start from seed, it takes a lot longer, and sometimes the seed will not germinate if it does not have the proper conditions. When it's in this stage of growth, it's more mature. So again, you will plant these 4 inches deep into your pot. Got my planting stick. I'm making that deep hole and making sure I'm able to put it down in there. And you're gonna take it, and you also want to make sure that this part is faced up. You do not want to plant it this way because it will not be able to readjust itself to grow out of the soil. And then you cover it up. And that is 1. And the only reason why I've only been planting 1 in each pot is because plants like these need a room to grow, and you don't want to plant so many because your the quality of your onion or your garlic bulb or your garlic, once you dig it up, will not be as big and tasteful because it will have been competing with other with the other plant around it to get the same nutrients and water. Okay, next we are going to plant carrots. Now carrot seeds are pretty small, as you see, and when you plant these, you literally just sprinkle them on top of the soil and then sprinkle some soil on top of them. You do not want to plant carrot seeds too deep. If you do, they will not germinate. So I'm going to take the seeds that I have and just sprinkle them on the soil. Sprinkle them all around. On this side of the soil, I'm doing rainbow mix carrots, which is, they look like this. And on the other side of the soil, I'm going to do the long imperator. Okay. So let me sprinkle these seeds. I need a little bit more seed. Okay, just want to make sure I have an even mix across. And now I'm going to do these seeds. Sprinkle. And then across. Okay. Alright, and now I have some soil here I prepared. And I'm just going to sprinkle this soil on top. Just a light topping. You don't need, too thick of a topping, because these should not be planted too deep at all. Literally an 1/8 of an inch. That's how deep you'll plant these carrot seeds. Okay. Now you're gonna press just lightly on your soil, because once it comes to watering, sometimes the seeds will float to the top. So you just want to make sure they're kind of secured in the soil. Next, we are going to sow the beet seeds. Beet seeds have a pretty long taproot, so I got pretty long bucket for them to be planted in. Also, when it comes to pots, some of your pots may not have a drainage system or a drainage area at the bottom. So if they don't, you can always place rocks or some type of looser material at the very bottom so that the water is able to drain and it's not just sitting in the soil. So we're going to take the beet seeds that have been soaking. You can soak these for up to 24 hours. So beet seeds are planted a ½ inch deep into your soil. I've already made those markings. And they can actually be planted pretty close to each other. About 2 inches apart. Also, when sowing seeds, you usually want to sow more than one just for germination rate. And once your seedlings germinate, you can thin them out. Thinning out basically means you just take out the seedling that doesn't look like it's the strongest, so that you can have better planting space, and also, like I said, so your plants won't be crowded. And then we'll cover those up. Oh, got a few more. Let me finish these up. Next, we are going to work on the greens. So things like spinach, lettuce, collards, and our kale. So I'm going to start them in these little pots, and then I'll probably transplant them into bigger pots. But for right now, we're going to start them in smaller pots. Usually these seeds are sown at a depth of about a quarter of an inch to ½ inch. So for kale, which pot is this? Kale dwarf. Okay. Now that everything is planted, you want to make sure you water it really well, which I've already watered, so I'm not going to show that process. But everything has been prepared. And the only reason why I didn't show me sowing these seeds, because it was the same process as how you would sow these seeds. So now you're probably wondering, well, when is she going to tell me how I can grow this stuff indoors or on my balcony? So I'm about to tell you. So to grow on your balcony, as you see here, it's a pretty good open space. You just need to set your plants in a sunny location, preferably south facing towards the sun. South facing the sun. You want your seeds to be south facing the sun. Sometimes you can't really control that depending on where you live at. You can't control it, or if you live in an apartment, it's not like you can pick what apartment you want that's south facing the sun. So when you're dealing with issues like that, you've kind of just got to do the best you can with getting your proper sunlight. Now, growing indoors, you would have to get a plant light, or if you have a sunny window area that gets pretty good sunlight throughout the day, you can put that in the sunny window, or you can buy a plant light. Plant lights can be costly. The more expensive ones are generally the better ones, but you can get, a cheap plant light, like a $20, $15 plant light, and that will suffice to grow your plants as well. With getting plant lights, you have to be careful because certain lights, the plant will not be able to retrieve that type of light, so it will cause your plant to grow way too tall because it's trying to reach light that it can't receive. So when buying your plant lights, you just want to make sure that you really look into that. I would give more information about plant lights, but I'm still kind of learning myself about the right types of plant lights. I've definitely dealt with not having the right plant light, or just needing a bigger light in general to, sustain for all of my plants. But now that it's warmed up outside, I have my plants outside on the balcony, and they have been doing beautifully and wonderfully and fine. And I will show what those plants, I will show what those plants look like in a different video. And also, I will show the process of these plants growing and how to, maintain your plants after you have planted your seeds. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions about things that I might have not covered in my video, just let me know in the comment section and I will answer it the best way I can. I'll be back with more videos soon. Peace.